Race. Some say it defines a culture, a group of people, what a person should hold pride in, a type of outcast group to stereotype or stay away from. Race is how a person and society identifies them. But the question now is, does race division still exist? The focus of our documentary is from the viewpoint of caregivers on if elementary-age children understand race and they should bias against one race over another. About 73% of children utilize some type of after-school programs, and depending on their location, there may be a variety of different races in one program. In our documentary, we didn't try to focus on why racism exists, but how early can racism develop. The first question we wanted to know from our interviewees is if the kids played together only by race or if they played interracially.
My name is Molly Harris, and I work at Dell Children's Medical Center in the emergency department.
All right, Molly, we just have a couple questions here regarding kids' interactions with each other, if you wouldn't mind answering. The first question would be, in general, how do the kids that you interact with or have any type of, interaction, how do they act towards each other?
I think a lot of the times when I see kids interacting together at the hospital, it's sibling groups or it's groups of different patients in the playroom. And I see kids interacting with each other in the playroom. They share supplies. They are working together, building blocks and things like that. In individual patient rooms, siblings, just kind of depends on the family, how well they get along.
But as a whole, when you're dealing with multiple different families, they get along pretty much the same? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Most of the time I see kids getting along and sharing and playing together.
Now,
Awesome.
while the kids are interacting with each other, do you see like any of them acting different towards each other, like just by race, like the black kids acting different from when they're around the white kids or something like that?
No, my school is mostly Hispanic and white. There are a few African American kids, but none of them act different towards each other because of race. So.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Jessica, and I watch kids after school.
Hey Jessica, we just have a couple questions here for you. The first one would be, in general, how do the kids that you watch act towards each other?
They get along as a whole for the most part. They tend to separate by gender, but never by nationality or race.
Hi, my name is Jordan Terrell, and I work for Kin at NEISD at Redland Oaks Elementary School. It's an after-school program for elementary kids.
All right, Jordan. In general, how do the kids act towards each other? Do they get along?
For the most part, they do. I think I work with 4th and 5th grade, and I think majority of it, the boys play with the boys and the girls play with the girls. But then you get when the athletics, if the girl's good enough to play with the boys will allow her to come.
Do the kids play together by race or ethnicity?
No, they don't. I think that at this age, I think they don't really know exactly the difference. If they have similarities, as in they both like Legos, they both like basketball, they both like sports, they get along. I've never had any kind of altercations with someone not wanting to play with someone because of their race or ethnicity or gender or anything like that.
So they mix themselves when they play sports or play games or
yes,
anything?
Definitely.
By watching them, do they act different towards each other? Well, like you said, they really don't, but is there more white kids that play with black kids, or do they act the same no matter the race?
I think at Redland Oaks is majority white, but I do see mixed races playing all the time, and I think that they all just play with each other. They don't like really.
Hi, my name is Lauren Swafford. I work at Growing Scholars Montessori. I've worked in childcare for 6 years.
Do the kids play together by race or ethnicity?
No, everyone plays together.
By watching the kids, do they act different towards each other, like a white child with an African American?
No, I always teach everyone, these are all your friends, everyone gets along equally, so no, everyone gets along.
I'm here with Jillian Lonsberry, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself.
I am a nanny, and I also work at a gym with kids from ages 2 to 10.
Perfect. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. The first one is, in general, how do the kids act towards each other? Like, do they get along as a whole, or do they separate themselves, or what?
No, pretty much they all play with each other.
At what age, if you see it at all, do you see any form of grouping where the children will group themselves into smaller groups based on their ethnic heritage?
Sure.
And because through high school, and especially middle school, that's from younger, say elementary school is when they really start, what I have seen is when they really kind of start figuring some things out, and middle school is when they can really start finding their cliques. Sure. And then high school is one of the detrimental ones where they've pretty much figured out who they are, well, trying to figure out who they are. Do you see any specific age where they tend to group themselves by their ethnic heritage?
Well, I'll stay with your questions are coming to me as a YMCA, a sports youth and family director, so I'm going to direct it that way.
And that's fine.
Okay,
that's great.
So as that role that I play here, you know, the beauty is I do not see that separation.
Oh, okay.
I see it in all my readings and my studies. You know, sure, we're not a melting pot per se, where everyone becomes this. But I buy into this theory of tossed salad.
Yeah.
Okay. We're more of a tossed salad. Everyone still has their individual. Okay. You know, I'm still learning Spanish from some great little kids and adults, and so I can communicate with their parents. So as far as your question is them clicking or separating themselves in groups, do not really. The beauty is we don't see that. And my example is just yesterday. We're starting our sports. I'm out at the fields for 8 and 9-year-olds, and they're all in a mix: boys, girls, African American, Caucasian, Spanish, all mixing fine together. No one really separating.
Yeah. Okay.
So here we tend to not have that.
Our main objective goal for this questioning segment was to see how the kids acted towards their instructors and teachers.
Do you think that other kids interact with you differently depending on their nationality or their ethnicity, or do you think everybody pretty much interacts with you the same way?
I think it depends on the age group of the kid, and I think a lot of that is more influenced by their developmental level rather than their skin color and how they're going to interact with me.
Have you observed children acting differently towards you, being a white female, than they do with other adults of their same racial background? Or have you observed this in the past?
The same racial background?
That of their same racial, as in you have a teacher or a counselor of the same racial background as them, Hispanic, female, black male, white female. Do they treat you differently because you're a white female, maybe even both?
They do. There is this there are different kinds of students that come to the school I work at. There are African American students, very few. I think we only have like 6% now, 6 to 10%. And as I mentioned before, if they're living with their grandmother, being raised by their grandmother, there is a definite line they don't cross. If their mother is Hispanic and their father was black, they align more with Hispanic people. And they usually speak Spanish. That's their first language. Now we also have a group coming in from Mexico that they live with a relative here to go to middle school for 3 years, or as long as they can, to learn English, so that when they go back to Central America, it's not just in Mexico, but Central America, they can get a better job because they speak English, and they will not go on to school after they go back home. They won't go into high school or anything. Those students are much more hesitant to interact with me. Fearful of me almost, and maybe most of it is the language barrier.
Okay.
I know just enough Spanish to get my message across, but I don't really understand what they're saying. You know, very seldom.
Okay, and as a white female, do you see any difference on how the kids see you or act with you?
No, I'm with them Monday through Friday all day, so they're used to seeing me, and they all just gravitate towards me because I'm the only teacher they have all week, so they all just gravitate towards
As
me.
a white woman, do you see any difference on how the kids see you or act with you?
Actually, I do have a little black boy and a little Hispanic girl, and at the very beginning of my classes, they were very standoffish towards me and didn't really want me to talk to them. They didn't want to talk to me. They were just super quiet, and I mean, as the semester has gone on, they've warmed up to me and gotten a little better, but still they are not as like interactive towards me as the other kids are.
Cool.
In this segment, we wanted to know what race, if any, gravitated to their teachers.
Okay, and which kids tend to gravitate towards you?
Usually the babies, just because the older ones are kind of doing their own thing. The 18 months to about 2.5-year-olds, that's the ones that they kind of need most attention, so I would say the younger ones.
All right, and do you believe the kids are treated the same by every teacher at the school?
For the most part, there's a few teachers that have their favorites and don't tend to give other kids enough attention. It's not necessarily about race, but usually they have their favorites, and I don't.
All right. In general, out of all your classes, which kids would you say tend to gravitate more towards you?
I think I would definitely say the white kids.
Okay, and do you believe that the kids are treated the same from every counselor or coach?
Yes, I work with 2 other coaches, and in our classes, I think we all definitely focus on all the kids, and we just want to help them all equally, and we don't ever pick favorites or anything like that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Which kids tend to gravitate towards you?
I would say all of them, but I think the boys, when it comes to sports, because they know I don't have too many rules when it comes to like the football and the tagging and falling down and things like that. But then I think the girls know how to get under my sweet side, I guess, and try to get away with things.
So they don't gravitate you towards race or anything, right?
No.
Okay.
Was there any race that may have particularly gravitated towards you? Or this goes back to...
Yeah, if and when we did have Anglo students, they would gravitate towards me.
Okay.
Especially if they did not come from the culture of poverty.
Okay.
Like I have, there are 2 girls now, and they're deeply entrenched in the culture of poverty, and they don't really look at themselves as being Anglo. You know, and they have not gravitated towards me. Other than that, students who enjoy reading, no matter what race they are, they like to come in the library, and so I can make a connection that way. And usually they learn to trust me. If I know their parents, if I help their parents do something in school, they are more receptive to asking me for help.
Do you observe the children, the students of different racial backgrounds being treated the same from every counselor or teacher? Or have you seen in the past certain teachers, counselors, librarians, however, facility members of whichever school treating some students of different races differently than, say, a student of their own race?
I'm sad to say this, but yes, I see, not a lot, but I do see African American professionals treating African American children a little more special and Hispanic professionals, Hispanic students.
Okay.
Same way. I mean, and I don't like to say that, and I think if it would come right, I think they would be disappointed in themselves if they thought I saw that.
Okay.
Now, we suspected some of the instructors were sugarcoating their answers in their interviews we conducted.
How many children do you have in the YMCA community that actually come here on a regular basis?
Well, again, we'll talk just for the Southwest Y.
Okay. Yeah.
And your question was how many kids?
Just children, youth from the 18-month
Right.
to up to the 14, 15, to get an idea on the area.
Sure.
What kind of, how many youths are taking advantage of the Y?
Okay. Now we can talk either just walking in the door or those that actually sign up for programs. So let's just talk programs first, and we'll do the door.
Okay.
So for the programs, as we said, the YMCA is great because we're a catch-all.
Mm-hmm.
We don't like to turn any kid away, per se, or child, which is great because we do have financial aid available for them.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't pay that $40 for swim lessons, we still think it's important enough that you're in there.
Right.
If you pay $20, then we'll cover the rest.
Yeah. Okay.
So within those programs, here at the Southwest Y, for example, for spring, we'll just talk for sports, we have over, say, 350 to 400 kids participating.
Oh, okay.
And that's going to go from age 4 up to age 9. Okay. Beyond that scope, we have swim lessons, which is very important. I used to be the quad instructor. Yeah. And that age is going to go from mommy and me all the way up to, 13, 14. We're just talking kids.
Yeah.
And that is every month we have swim lessons. So within that structure, we'll have, say, 200. So now we're up to maybe 500 kids just within
When
programs.
speaking of race and ethnicity, by the, what's your name, what's your race, what's your ethnicity, what would you say is the majority of this YMCA? Would you classify them as Hispanic, African American, Caucasian, or is it a broad mix of children throughout?
Well, you said the majority. So the majority are going to be your white Caucasians.
Okay.
Which I'm Irish, and I guess that will entail we'll say European.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's how I consider white Caucasian within, I guess, here I am in Texas.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the majority.
Okay. Do you see, and this is outside of the race and ethnic question spectrum as per se, do you see some of the children reflect their parents' biases, or even, no, I shouldn't say biases, but their behavior? Do they base a lot of that off their parents, and how do you see that when you get a child come in? And I'm assuming you do interact quite heavily with some of the parents, some of them maybe not so much, but if you don't have a large interaction with some of the parents, do you also see that needing to be coaxed out with the youth? Whereas maybe you have a child with a set of parents who's very interactive and constantly and saying hello to everyone. Do you see that same characteristic with the youth?
Okay. Well, I'm going to break this down because you seem to ask a few questions there.
Yeah.
One is you're asking if I see the bias of a child based on his parent. The end of your question was, do I see a child of a parent who is an outgoing parent?
I think he's trying to give you an example of what he's trying to say. But in other words, when you talk to children, and if their parents are biased, let's say they don't like white people or they don't like black people.
Okay, so that's how we go. So let's deal with that one first.
Okay.
Sugarcoating was probably taking place because as an instructor on camera, they didn't want to seem like their institution treated people differently or unfairly based on race. An interesting find came about when we were going through our interviews. As a group, we saw that the younger the kids were, the more they were not comprehending the concept of what race really is. They only know what the color of their skin was. Also, the way the kids interacted with their peers and instructors were the result of their own interactions with their families. It all comes down to the interactions people have with the children. As a society, we tend to want kids to be colorblind, as in we never point out their skin color. We'll say things like everyone's equal, when in reality we should sit down and talk about race and ethnicity to the younger generation.
A lot that has to do with it is their age, that they're so young that they don't really even understand that race used to be an issue.
Certainly. The last 5, 6, 7 years, we have a lot of children who are African American appearing. Their mother is Hispanic and their father has very little to do with them, and they identify more with Hispanic kids. And as one of my co-teachers a few years ago said, and she was African American, she says they don't even know they're black. And I thought, yes, you know, how true that is. Yes. Now, upon occasion, a student would come through that had an Anglo mother and an African American father, and those children were always receptive to me and didn't hold back, or, you know, didn't have this line.
So would you say that it's the interactions are influenced, especially with you, interactions with you may possibly be based more upon class than race? Or let's say with the library.
No, I still have to work to earn their trust or comfort around me.
No matter the race or class or gender of the student?
No, but it's a little bit harder with African Americans, like I said, if they have been raised by an older African American that remembers. And this is my theory, that they remember prejudice and discrimination firsthand.
And these are just all on your observations and what you... So.
Yeah. My experience.